Hello everyone, welcome to Lukmaan IS. Today we are going to have the Hindu analysis of 3rd April 2022. Let's see which are the important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. Yes, these are the articles. First of all, we'll understand the context of these articles, why they are in news and their relevance to our examination syllabus from mains as well as prelims perspective. Look at the first article, Explained Economic Crisis in Sri Lanka. On FAQ page number 12. Okay, some good explanation of the recent developments in a compiled manner that happens. It is given in those explained page or FAQ page. Okay, so yes, the crisis that is going on in Sri Lanka, we have to understand the reasons and how it is manifesting into, let's say, or impacting the people of Sri Lanka, how India is helping Sri Lanka in that aspect to deal with that crisis. Then it is relevant to IR section GS2 paper. Then the outcome of Nepal Prime Minister's visit to India. So Nepal Prime Minister is on visit for 3 days to India, and our Prime Minister met with Nepal Prime Minister, and the outcome of that let's say meeting we have to understand here quickly from IR section, international relations. Then the important development from economy perspective as well as IR perspective. So India Australia signed economic cooperation and trade agreement. Okay, so some important highlights of this agreement are mentioned here in this article. So it is relevant to economy GS3 paper and GS2 paper IR section. In economy, international trade. Okay, then as war depletes wheat granaries across the world, India looks to fill the void. So that means basically 25% of the wheat exports of the world are from these two countries, Russia and Ukraine, which are at present at war, and that's why the exports from these countries have fell significantly, and now India is looking into this opportunity to fill the gap and export the wheat to certain countries which were earlier dependent on Ukraine and Russia. For example, Egypt is mentioned, Indonesia is mentioned in this article. So it is important from GS3 paper economy, GS2 paper IR. So you can see major developments are related to economy and IR section. Then specifically for prelims, there is one article on page number 6, Prehistoric Relics point to riverine settlement at Attapadi. So Attapadi is one of the taluk or village, tribal village in Kerala, Tamil Nadu border area. Okay, so there the archaeological excavation has revealed that this particular area may have been the ancient settlement or prehistoric settlement of the people. Further studies are required. This is what the excavator is saying in this particular case. So we'll try to know detail about this from art and culture perspective. World Health Organization records new SARS-CoV-2 variant. Okay, so we'll briefly try to find out this recombinant variant that WHO has flagged recently and practice prelims MCQ. Now, why is Sri Lanka under the state of emergency? The context here is in last 2 days, there has been protest in Sri Lanka, and the severe protest, violent protest erupted outside the residence of Sri Lankan president, and he immediately declared state of emergency for throughout weekend. Okay, so that is very important development happening there. Okay, so complete state of emergency has been declared there. Now, what triggered this crisis in Sri Lanka? You should know the background here. Okay, the background is two important reasons that is being said. First is that the Easter Day bombings in 2019. Okay, so that had resulted into decline in tourism, international tourism into this island nation. One of the major source of revenue and employment for let's say this island nation, this has declined for long period of time. And the second important, let's say, the policy measure by the government. What was this policy measure? The compulsory organic farming. by all farmers in the country. Now this has resulted into decline in the harvest or yield, we can say, overall production of the food grains because of this policy, and that's why the country is facing the problem here. Okay, so these major reasons overall, and then you can talk about third one. The country was just recovering from these two, then the pandemic struck in 2020. So these three are the major reasons that the country is facing the economic crisis at present. Now to deal with these first two, the government had come up with certain measures. Okay, so those measures, one of them was, let's say, to support the people by reducing taxes. So what government did, they reduced the taxes, and because of that the tax revenue of the government declined. Okay, so economic activities were low, that's why the government did not have the appropriate resources from tax and non-tax revenue, and then it reduced the taxes, so because of that revenue also declined. Okay, and then the overall agriculture production was low, and because of that government did not have sufficient resources to feed the people, at the same time to pay for the import bill, and because of that again the crisis worsened. Okay, so we should know what actually is happening in last 2-3 years in Sri Lanka on the ground. Then how did the crisis manifest itself on the ground? So what is happening on the ground? How people are facing the problem? So on the ground there is very high level of inflation in last several months, and because of that common people faced a lot of problem. High level of inflation. Then at the same time the essentials, the inflation crept into the essential commodities. High prices of essential commodities, for example fuel, okay, so crude oil, then you can talk about kerosene and LPG gas, food grains, medicines, this all faced a lot of problem. Okay, the common people, this you can consider this as the indicators of, we can say, high inflation on the ground. Okay, and this was largely, we can say, the common people face the problem in their day-to-day life because of high commodity prices. Okay, fuel prices, petrol, oil or kerosene, LPG gas for the cooking purpose. So everything was very costly. At the same time, we know that let's say Sri Lanka is not having any resource of all this. That's why they are importing everything. And import of all this, the government soon ran out of money to pay the import bill. Okay, last year in the year end, it faced let's say severe BOP crisis. But yes, somehow Sri Lanka could manage this BOP crisis, but now again let's say Sri Lanka is requesting for help from different agencies, different countries. So yes, government sought help from India. India has helped, extended help. How India has been helping this year itself in 2022, India has extended help of $2.4 billion. Okay, along with that India is also helping, let's say, to buy food grains and other essentials like fuel. So India is extending help in that. Then India is exporting medicines as a grant, also some food grains and medicines. Yes, vaccine by 3 also, but this is particular essential medicines. Vaccine is for COVID-19. Yes, so in this manner. Then also Sri Lanka is requesting help from China. China is still considering that help. Yes, Sri Lanka is also requesting help from IMF now. International Monetary Fund, IMF. So it may extend some kind of, let's say, a package to deal with this crisis, BOP crisis at present it is facing.
So if any country has been faced with this type of worst situation, World Bank will have the rights to donate money without any repayments.
No, World Bank will not have. World Bank is largely related to development.
Institution is there, sir.
IMF is there.
Directly they will not ask once again repayment.
No. They will ask repayment. Of course, it is a loan. It is a loan facility. Like India took loan facility during, let's say, BOP crisis during 1990s, right? So IMF provides such loan, and we can say long-term loan, and it will have certain conditions to satisfy that. Okay, so of course, if suppose IMF extend the help, some kind of package, then there will be some kind of restructuring in its working of the country or its external sector, we can say. Okay, so this is the situation at present. We'll see in following days how this particular crisis unfolds. Okay, so the people are not happy. People wants the government or the leaders to resign. So everything is happening there. Okay, now moving on. Nepal Prime Minister seeks steps to resolve border dispute. So Nepal Prime Minister is on 3-day visit to India. So he has met with our Prime Minister, and the outcome of that visit, that meeting, you should know. They both jointly inaugurated 90-kilometer long 132 kVDC Solu corridor transmission line, electricity transmission line, and substation built under line of credit extended by India. So in terms of power production, especially hydropower production, India is extending help. Both sides agreed to expedite progress in the implementation of Pancheshwar multi-purpose dam on Mahakali or Kali river. Beginning with early finalization of detailed project report. Now, Prime Minister of Nepal appreciated fresh approval granted to Nepal Electricity Authority for export of substantial amount of power to India. Okay, so it is going to export that electricity to India. Then our Prime Minister welcomed Nepal's decision to join the International Solar Alliance. So Nepal became the 105th country to become a signatory to the framework agreement of International Solar Alliance. Okay. Both Prime Ministers welcomed the recent conclusion of a government-to-government G2G agreement to facilitate long-term, let's say, supply of fertilizers from India to Nepal. Okay, so this is the agreement, supply of fertilizers from India to Nepal. Then first broad gauge passenger railway service connecting India Nepal in the Jayanagar Kurtha section was also inaugurated. Okay, so this is for the first time. First thing याद रखनी चाहिए, लिखनी चाहिए आंसर में. Then also the other projects, let's say, being funded by India in Nepal, National Police Academy of Nepal, then integrated check post at Nepalganj, and we can say Bhairava, and the projects under Ramayana circuit. Okay, so they are funded by India, they are being implemented there. Also, the use of Indian RuPay card in Nepal was jointly launched here. So this will help to have some kind of interoperability, financially connectivity there, and whatever the, let's say, tourism is there, no, for Indian tourists, they visit Nepal, let's say, tourists visit India, so they can have the same kind of card, and financial connectivity can be there between these two countries. You should also know that NEFT, this NEFT facility of India, payment facility, so that facility is only available to Nepal, okay, not any other country. Then next is India-Australia deal seeks to double bilateral trade in 5 years. So this is let's say early deal than the expectation. We are expecting by the year end 2022, but yes, we have signed this economic cooperation and trade agreement, and the aim is doubling the bilateral trade to $50 billion in 5 years, easing movement of people, goods and services across the border. So it not only focuses on people, but also goods as well as services. Okay, it is expected to create 10 lakh additional jobs in next 5 years in India. Major areas of goods trade and services trade. See here, labor intensive Indian sectors such as textile, gems and jewelries, leather, food and farm produce and automobile to benefit. Australian coal and mineral ores and wines to get easier entry into India.
It is one of the major business.
Wine industry of Australia is very famous and they want access to Indian market. Working group to explore market access issues for both sides in whiskey and other alcoholic beverages. Okay, then trade in services. Indian students in Australia to get work visas for 2 to 4 years. Australian firms in business, communication and construction engineering services to gain. Fast track approval for the patented generic and biosimilar medicines. Along with that, Indian, let's say, chefs and yoga professionals, they will also be able to work in Australia. They will get the visa. Okay. Then tariffs will be eliminated on more than 85% of Australian goods export to India. Then raising to almost 91% in next 10 years. India will offer preferential access to Australia on over 70% of its tariff lines on goods import, including lines of export interest to Australia, which are primarily raw materials and intermediaries such as coal, mineral ores, wines. Okay, so largely the focus is on these commodities from Australia to India.
That is a major investment.
And for people to people movement here for Indian students learning in Australia. Okay, that you should know. And for service sector, of course, this one, Australian firms of business, communication, construction and engineering.
So that coal and minerals will drive our economy very fastly.
Yes, so raw materials for India, that is very important.
Very important.
Yes. As war depletes wheat granaries across the world, India looks to fill the void. Yes, so the important facts are mentioned here, so that's why we should cover it. Yes, Russia, Ukraine account for about 25% of world's wheat export. And now there is military conflict that is going on between these two countries and therefore substantial decline in wheat export by these countries. That's why the countries which were dependent earlier on these countries' exports, like for example Egypt, largely dependent on Russia and Ukraine. So they are now looking for other, let's say, market for the import of wheat. While Russia, Ukraine exported 183 million tons and 91 million tons of wheat respectively between 2017 to 21, India exported just fraction of its output, that is 12.6 million. Why? India being the second largest producer of wheat after China, only exported fraction of that amount because the major is consumption within the country. And then the buffer stock that we maintain. Then we export remaining. Like for example, Indian wheat supply in this 4 years at let's say 613 million tons, exported only 2% of this, with about 80% used for domestic consumption. Huge population, no? And it is staple food, especially in northern India. And that's why domestic consumption is huge and rest is stored as a buffer stock, public procurement program.
It is in 18%, sir, totally, I think maybe.
Which one?
Buffer stock is 18%.
Yes, remaining buffer stock that is maintained for PDS purpose, public distribution system. That many countries in Africa, West Asia, Southeast Asia rely heavily on Russian and Ukrainian wheat, like Egypt is there, biggest importer of wheat. Then there is Indonesia, second largest importer. So that's why India is looking at these markets now, these countries, to export the wheat. The harvest period is now there and we are expecting bumper produce of wheat. So this is the time that we can export. But some of the people, experts, are concerned. What are the concerns here? Ensuring the stability of prices in India and availability of grain for internal consumption should be of utmost priority. Okay, if suppose we are exporting and suppose there is let's say crunch in supply, so suddenly the prices of wheat increases, then the poor people will face the problem.
We will face this problem.
Yes, so that's why domestic availability of grains and the stability of prices, this should be the utmost priority. Also, this would require continuing with PDS, Public Distribution System, Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana, that government recently extended for 6 months. Okay. Then if India decides to export wheat from its stocks, buffer stocks, some developed nations may raise objections at WTO also, because the government cannot do that. Although, according to Peace Clause, Bali Peace Clause 2014, India can export from those food grains also. Although India maintains that we are not exporting, like recently there was case in WTO that India exported rice from let's say buffer stocks. Although India said that that was not from buffer stock. Okay. So you should know the Bali package, peace clause, and there will not be any case raised by developed nation against export of these produce. Okay. So you should know all these things here, concerns. Next, prehistoric relics point to riverine settlement at Attapadi. Attapadi is small taluk or block, we can say, in Kerala along the border with Tamil Nadu. And this, let's say, archaeological discoveries have been done along the rivers, banks of the rivers Bhavani, Surivani, Kodukara Pallam and Anakatti. This Bhavani is a major tributary of Kaveri river. Kaveri river. You should know this Bhavani river. Okay, it originates in Tamil Nadu, then go back to Kerala in let's say Silent Valley National Park, and then again come back to Tamil Nadu.
Okay,
its course, okay, and then flows to the Kaveri, flows into the Kaveri river as a tributary. Fine. So along the banks of these rivers, this, let's say, archaeological excavation has been done, and what they have found: discovery of stone tools, inhabited caves, menhirs, schist or burial chambers, stone circles, burial urns, black and red ware pottery, terracotta images, stone carvings and granite inscription point to the prehistoric human settlements in the predominantly tribal area of Allapatti. And the excavators are worried here because the majority of these discoveries, they have been damaged by the local people. They do not understand the importance of this. Okay, and now the experts, when they are doing study here, they come to know that they are very important from our, let's say, art and culture perspective, archaeological perspective. Just remember that along the banks of these rivers, along the border between Tamil Nadu and Kerala, Allapadi, we can say block or village, tribal village, there the excavation and discoveries have been done here. Okay. WHO records new COVID variants, virus variant. Okay, so this has been, let's say, first flagged by UK agency, UK Health Security Agency, which tracks these variants, analyzed 3 recombinant variants known as XF, XE and XT. There is a difference between these. XD and XF are recombinants of Delta and Omicron BA.1. Okay, first of all, you should know recombinant variant, meaning recombinant variant of virus occurs when individual or person becomes infected with 2 or more variants at the same time, leading to mixing of genetic material in the human body, and the new variant is generated that is transferred to the other individuals. Okay, recombinant variant of virus. So this XD and XF are recombinations of Delta and Omicron BA.1, and XE is the recombinant of Omicron BA.1 and BA.2. Within Omicron variant, the new variant has been, let's say, formed here, and it is being said that it is 10 times faster than these two. Okay, so this is the warning given by WHO here. We'll see what will happen. This XE recombinant variant here. Okay, so what should be answer to this one? We tried to confuse in the statements. If the student is not knowing, then it is difficult.
Infected two or more dimensions at the same time.
Yes. So a recombinant variant of virus may occur when a person is reinfected by the virus? No. A person is infected with two or more variants at the same time? This is correct answer. At the same time, it is infected by two or more variants of same virus, so that there is intermixing of that DNA material, and because of that the new variant is, let's say, being formed and then transferred to other individuals. That is recombinant. Okay. Then a person who has received vaccine but get infected. So see, imagine if the student is not knowing the meaning here, so he may get, let's say, confused. ये जो न्यूज़ में होता है ना कि वैक्सीन लिया है फिर भी उसको इन्फेक्शन हो रहा है, ब्रेक थ्रू इन्फेक्शन जिसको बोलते हैं. What is breakthrough infection? If the person has received the vaccine, still he is infected later, right? So even after getting 2 doses of vaccine, if the person is getting infected, that is breakthrough infection.
In third way it happens.
Yes. Okay. So you should know the meaning related to or terminologies of related to COVID-19 pandemic. ठीक है? Okay. So these were the important articles. Fine? Okay, let us stop.